Disco Elysium is teeming with rich characters, each with unique backstories, ideals, goals, and personalities. Throughout the game, you encounter a diverse cast and witness their development alongside your own. One character in particular stands out to me. You don't meet him until the very end, yet he is, in my view, the most pivotal character you encounter. The Deserter, also known as Iosif Lilanovich Dross.
I had to swim back. The fortress was half submerged too, shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels, or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality. The mask of humanity fall from capital.
You, the player, as Harry, can only encounter this individual at the very end of the game. There is no way to encounter him before you're sure you're ready to finish the game. Throughout the entire investigation, there's rarely a direct reference to this character. There are some clues that, yes, imply of his existence, or just don't add up. But no matter who you talk to in Revachol, no matter what leads you follow, you will never find a concrete person to accuse. Early on in the game, you and Kim deduce that the gunshot that killed Ellis Cordonier, a mercenary colonel for the death squad Colonel, was shot from 3 possible locations. You can't go to all 3 locations, but you can narrow down that it came from an old island. When you finally get there at the end of the game, you see the Deserter just sitting in solitude. He's holding a rifle and is apprehensive of your presence. You and Kim immediately know this is the guy. But he doesn't really deny it. In fact, this whole conversation is purposely incredibly linear. You don't have to make any correct dialogue options. You don't have to deceive him. He just straight up admits that he killed Ellis. This part of the game is often seen as controversial. Many believe introducing the killer so late is a weak narrative choice, and normally it would be. However, in Disco Elysium, it works. Let me explain why. The Deserter, as a character, represents an ideology more than an individual. At its core, Disco Elysium is a game about failure. Whether personal, societal, or on a broader human scale, this overarching theme is reflected in all of its characters, particularly the Deserter. You're tasked with solving this murder, and you hype yourself up that this is a huge case, a conspiracy even, but it's not. It's just another failure. The Deserter is called that because during the war in Martinaise, he claims to have been so afraid he decided to abandon his post and ran away.
I ran. I climbed the chain link across the water and hid inland, in the bunkers underground, like the weakest of the weak. A mouse, frightened of the ordnance all night and the sound of the rotors in the morning, whirring. Aerostatics. The landing had started. I climbed out into hell.
Once he emerged from his hiding spot, he believed that the revolutionaries were still active. This single act of desertion has haunted him ever since, defining him entirely. He sees himself as a failure, unable to move past this moment of cowardice. This is the reason he's called the Deserter, and not something like the Hermit or the Holdout. This one decision he made has completely taken over his life. The Deserter never reintegrated himself into society. He would sneak around tunnels, but eventually he just started walking around normally. Now, this is where his character takes a darker turn, as over the years, he would apparently watch the people of Revachol through his scope, and just straight up shoot the people he didn't like. This is the reason Kim and Harry can find numerous gunshots in walls throughout Revachol. Eventually, he becomes hyper-fixated with Class J. But when she starts partying with Ellis, he decides to take them both out while they go at it.
Masters, they must have really loved that dead fuck. I had them in my sights, both of them, him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in phase, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. Oh, the inhumanity.
He hesitates with Class J due to the feelings that he has for her. And that moment, that decision that he made, that moment of hesitation is what starts the trail that we as a player follow throughout the game. Now, when all is said and done, he is a horrible person. There is no combination of words in the English dictionary to justify his actions. He isn't some icon. He isn't some Sigma male. He is a failure of a human being more so than everyone else in Revachol. He calls everyone else useless and ideological failures because to him, the fight for liberation is a ghost that still haunts him. He represents the way we can hold on to shame and guilt from past mistakes to the point where those past mistakes are all that define us. He remains on the island to keep fighting as some kind of atonement, but in a sense, he's still the same coward who is running away from it all. The way he keeps fighting is by shooting people from a safe, faraway distance where there will be no repercussions for his actions, where he can't face the consequences. The Death Squad that he criticizes and hates so much still decides to just straight up confront the Union and the rest of the cast directly instead of just shooting everyone from further away. In the very end, he goes on this long rant about politics, and he tries to kind of justify his actions by using his shattered perception of the world. But that's not reality. In reality, he was stalking Class J, and he was in love with her. Ellis got with her before he could have, and he was jealous. And he killed them because of that. Fun fact, a little bit of trivia is that the title screen for Disco Elysium is a warped viewpoint of Revachol. And once you beat the game is when you're supposed to kind of realize that this is actually the deserter's point of view from his sniper nest. Now, me personally, I don't subscribe to the idea that the plasmid you encounter after you get his confession was fully influencing his thoughts. If you do, that's fine, but it overall detracts from the message of the game. You wake up as Harry. You're a loser. You've made mistakes. You are a horrible person. And during your time in Revachol, most players improve Harry as a person. Most players actively seek to fix this man's life. But the deserter has actively decided to stay this loser. He decides to relish in his own filth, and that's why he's a cautionary tale to Harry. Even if you decided to be the absolute worst cop on earth, the deserter still serves as a warning to try and improve yourself. And this message extends to you, the player. It's a powerful reminder that it's never too late to change your life, to strive to be a better person. Disco Elysium, through the tragic figure of the deserter, challenges us to confront our failures, learn from them, and move forward, refusing to be defined by our past mistakes.
The road to healing is going to be a long one. Stay the course. You will make it someday. Just remember that you've made it this far, and it's just a bit farther now. Let's finish this. I'm on your side.